Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Just Desserts, a card game that will be available to the general public on April 10th, 2015. It's for 2 to 5 players for ages 8 and up, with the average playtime being between 10 and 40 minutes. So the idea of this game is pretty simple. Each player will be a waiter in this dessert cafe, and they'll be trying to satisfy guest orders. A guest will come in, demand certain things, and players will be trying to satisfy those guests with these dessert cards. Now, the person that manages to satisfy a guest will put the guest in front of them as sort of like a point. And the first player to satisfy 3 guests of the same color or 5 guests of all different colors will win the game. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Okay, so there aren't a whole lot of components in this game. You've just got 2 decks of cards. You've got the guest deck and the desserts deck. What you'll want to do to set up the game is shuffle each deck separately. You'll take 3 cards from the guest deck and put them face up in the center of the table like this, and then you'll deal 3 of these dessert cards to each player. The first player, the starting player, is the person that most recently served dessert to the group. On a player's turn, what they'll want to do is take a card from the dessert deck to put into their hand. After that, they'll go ahead and draw a guest card and put it face up in the center of the table like this. Okay, so after that, the player has the option to satisfy up to 2 guests if they are able to. So they're going to take a look at their hand and see if any of these cards match the ingredients that are called for on these different guest cards. So you want to take a look at your dessert cards, see what kind of ingredients you have, and then take a look at the guest cards to see what they're asking for. Just as a quick example, let's take a look at the dude here, and we'll focus in on this so you can see it. He wants chocolate, apples, and marshmallows, and it just so happens his favorite is chocolate fondue, and I'll explain why that's important in a minute. Well, it just so happens that I have chocolate fondue in my hand. I totally didn't plan that. But you could discard this card and just put it into the discard pile in order to score this particular card and put it in front of you. Alternatively, you could discard these 2 cards. There's chocolate, apple, marshmallow, and carrots on these 2 cards combined, and that just so happens to fulfill his request. Even though he didn't ask for carrot, that's okay. So as long as you don't run into a symbol like this particular guest does not want peanuts, so you could not discard a card that had peanuts in it. So yeah, I could either play the chocolate fondue, or I could discard these 2 cards here because all of the symbols are on these 2 cards that he's asking for. If you happen to play his favorite, play a card that is his favorite meal, what will happen is you'll get a tip, and that just simply means you get to draw an extra dessert card. So let's just go ahead and we'll satisfy this guest, put it in front of us like this, and we'll discard the chocolate fondue, okay? Put it in the discard pile, and then we get to draw an extra bonus card because, again, chocolate fondue was his favorite meal. Now, it's important to note that you cannot satisfy part of a customer order on your turn. You have to play all of the cards on your turn, or you can't play anything at all. So, like, for example, if I didn't have marshmallow in my hand, I wouldn't be able to satisfy this particular customer. I couldn't play part of the cards now and then play the rest on a future turn when I had it. It doesn't work that way. You have to play all the cards all on the same turn. Now, if it turns out that you don't have the cards that you need to satisfy any customers, you can do one of 2 things. You can just draw a card from the dessert deck to add to your hand, or you can discard a certain number of cards to put it into the discard pile, and then draw that many from the deck to replenish your hand. Now, before a player turn ends, what they'll want to do is take a look at the guests to see if there is more than one of the same color. In this case, there is not. But if there were, they would have to discard so many guest cards so that there was at most 1 card of each particular color or suit. Okay, so let's just quickly run through one more turn to make sure that we've got it all down pat. For this player here, we're going to draw a card from the dessert deck, and then draw a card from the guest deck, place it face up like this. And then we're going to take a look at the hand to see if we can satisfy any customer orders. We can do up to 2. So, just in looking at this is not going to be perfect. This astronaut wants chocolate and cookies from the looks of it. Now, I do hold, let's see, I've got cookies there, but there's peanuts, and this lady does not want peanuts, so I can't play that card. However, there is cookies on this card, and there's chocolate on this card. So, I'm going to go ahead and score this card by discarding these 2 cards. Again, chocolate and cookies. There's no peanuts on either one, so we're okay. So we're going to discard that. And I don't see anything else, so I'm just going to go ahead and end that. Now, before the turn ends, this player notices that there are 2 orange cards here, so the player here is going to get rid of one. Now, it's important to note that the top card on top of the discard pile in the guest deck can still be served. So just keep that in the back of your mind as you're discarding cards. Now this will continue back and forth with both players taking turns until one of 2 things happen. If one player manages to get 5 cards of each of the 6 different colors here, so if a player were to get these 5 in front of them, or these 5 in front of them, or so on and so forth, they'll win the game. Alternatively, if they score 3 of the same color, they'll win the game. Alright, there you have it, a very brief look at just desserts. It's important to stress that I did not cover all of the rules found in the rulebook. This was just to give you the general idea to see if this is something you'd like to pick up for your family. For example, the manual lists advanced rules in case you want to spice things up a bit. Poaching and blocking. Basically, you can steal customers away from other players if you play the right cards, though there are some rules for blocking. Opening a buffet. If you have 4 single-flavor desserts known as aces, you can discard them to force all other players to move one of their satisfied guests of their choice back into the middle of the table. Surprise parties, that kind of thing. Nothing overly complicated, but if you get tired of the base game, those advanced rules are available. Yeah, as far as what I thought, pretty good game, geared more toward kids, but I can see a group of adults playing this in between longer play sessions as sort of a filler. If you want to see my full review, you can, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, that way you can keep up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.